living in this day and age, when I ask myself the question, why am I so tired? The first thing that occurs to me is information overload.
Yeah.
There is so much coming at us through these phones, which are on me at all, my phone's on me at all times. But just the sheer amount of information that we're having to process at all times, whether we're aware of it or not, could be one factor.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge factor. I think and we can get into like how different generations are trying to manage that information overload. But I think when we just look at having a device on us and the constant feed of information and we've talked about our fear of missing out and our need to kind of keep up with everybody in comparison. So we're always checking those alerts, right? It's triggering our fear. So we check the alerts when it happens. And then we're trying to keep up. We're looking at comparison, and then what happens is we just end up seeing news flash after news flash or alert after alert, and it's kind of re-traumatizing us over and over and over again.
And it isn't even limited to the news. The news feed is a huge part of it for me. Right. But whatever your social channels are feeding you, emails keep coming through, text messages keep coming through, the occasional phone call keeps coming through. If somebody is like Gen X or older, they still use the phone. I still use the phone.
No voicemails though.
No voicemails. That's done. That's the thing about it. But yeah, they're like all these, the single point of contact for all these various channels.
Right.
That's stressful.
It is. It's stressful trying to manage it, keep it all straight. And then there's this phenomenon where if you're getting bad information all the time, it's just kind of
bad information as in negative,
as in like negative, violence, trauma, political information, regardless of what side you land on, or it's too much. And God forbid if you're in the middle somewhere, you're getting both. Right. So it's all of this feed of just negativity, and it is traumatic, and it builds anxiety, and it's about the climate, it's about ICE, it's about politics, it's about policy, it's about tariffs, it's all this stuff comes in, and we can't really do anything about it.
Right.
So what happens is we're getting this feed constantly, and there's this sensation that we need to do something because it's traumatic and it's worrisome and it causes anxiety. So all of those fight or flight kind of like protective things that we talked about that happen with anxiety, that we've gone over, what happens is that gets activated.
Right.
All of a sudden we're in fight or flight mode or freeze, and we don't know what to do because we can't do anything. It's just yet another alert, another headline, another thing happened that we're looking at.
Right.
And so what happens is that everybody ends up being in this constant state of worry and anxiety and panic and trauma. And I don't like to overuse that word. I think trauma is kind of thrown around very easily now, but this becomes a traumatic experience because we are living in a constant state of fight or flight.
Well, part of trauma, I think the definition of it is, experiencing something extremely like life-threatening, and coupled with the sense that we can't do it, we're helpless.
That's right. Now look at this scenario.
Right.
We've got all of these things that are coming at us, these worries, and the intensity increases. The headlines, because it's everything from news is meant to grab you so that you watch more of it.
Right.
I remember
sensationalize.
I remember when news went 24-hour cycles.
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
Became the 24-hour news cycle. And we started watching that, and you could turn it off then because it was still just TV. Now it's just so...
The feed is
prevalent.
constant.
It's prevalent. It's to your phone. It's to your computers. It's to your... it's through...
Television.
It's through everything.
Right.
And so what happens everywhere you go, you just get this. So you have this scenario where you're inundated with this idea of, violence and aggression and all of these things that worry you.
Right.
And then you can't do anything about it because you're just seeing it through your phone screen.
Right.
And so what happens, you see it through the screen. It's like, well, okay, well, I can post about it. What's that? That's not really doing anything. And you see people do this when something bad happens. oh, I'm going to send my thoughts and prayers. I'm going to post about it. I'm going to put out a bunch of pictures about it, or
a video,
or a video. And that's bringing awareness to the situation, but it's not solving the anxiety.
So it's not really processing the anxiety.
It's not processing it.
Is it doing the opposite?
It's just kind of kicking the can down the road.
Okay.
We're still feeling the anxiety. We're still feeling the trauma, and we're still feeling really damaged by this. Mm-hmm. It's still the traumatic experience is still increasing, and the effect on us as a whole is still increasing.
Right.
So we can read, but the thing is, like, the more we look online, the more that's posted about it and counter to the things that are happening, which is good. We need to activate and be activists in a lot of these scenarios. But the problem is it's still contributing to more of the bad feeling. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing enough. What else can I do? Mm-hmm. Where can I do anything? And if we're not moving to resolve the actual situation, then we're still left with this kind of traumatic feeling. Right. And that, as we know, with trauma, builds over time. Right. And this isn't like one singular event. And I've talked with this and gone over this with clients before and other people. Like, I think as human beings, we're probably more well suited to deal with one singular traumatic event than we are that low level or mid level consistent, trauma. Right. And that's something we look at how awful, like something, a car accident or a fire or even something really awful like 9/11, right? Right. We look at it, we can see it, we can compartmentalize and say this thing happened on this date at this time. And here were the consequences of it. Here's how I feel about it. And it's still traumatic and it still hurts. We can work through that. Yeah. When there's low level or lower level consistent trauma, it's much harder to identify a resolution and it's much harder to work through. Right. Because it's slippery. It's like sand through our hands.
It reminds me of the frog in the hot water analogy.
It's exactly the frog in the hot water.
So like the one-time trauma, the single trauma is like suddenly the water goes to boiling, the frog jumps out. Right. The frog can get out of that situation, process the trauma. But what you're talking about, this low-level constant trauma, is like slowly turning the heat up on that water, and the frog will stay.
The frog will stay and just boil to death.
And boil to death.
It doesn't know that, it doesn't feel that shock. Right. Right. And so there's no recognition that it's in trouble until it's too late. Right. No, I think that's a perfect analogy of kind of what we're dealing with right now. Is we are slowly being boiled. Yeah. In so many different ways. Right. If we look at climate change and political situations and just the world in general, right? And how we process things and the inundation of social media and the pressure for society to perform, keeping up with everything.
Perform. That's a really, really interesting word,
right?
In this context, we are in this world that we live in. I think there's an expectation. To perform at all times. Yeah. Whether you're on the job or as being a parent, right? Being a partner, at the gym, like perform, high performance, maximum performance.
That's right.
The world is a stage.
Yeah. We have to show up, and it's the comparison too. Yeah. Other people are doing this thing, or I see what I think they're doing. Right. Right. Or I see what they want me to see. Right. Therefore, I have to do the same, if not better.
Yes.
And it has to look good. It has to look perfect.
I think that's enough to make me really tired.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with everything, it's exhausting. Yeah. If you're asked to always be on, right, like on point, like it's mentally exhausting. It's physically exhausting, and it's emotionally exhausting. And we can look at tiredness in those kind of three brackets. Right. Right.
Exactly.
And so we think about physically exhausting. We know that feeling. Right. Right. Oh, I stayed up too late, or it's anything. You went out, you say I go for a hike or a run. I'm like exhausted later, or I'm tired. Right. We get worn down physically just from doing basic things.
And also like what we're expected to do. So you're expected to go out at night after you've been working all day. You're expected to drink when you go out. Right. You come back and maybe you have a substance in your system. You wake up the next morning, you haven't slept enough, you haven't slept it off.
That's right.
And then the cycle begins again. It just kind of like repeats itself.
Yeah. The interesting thing about drinking, and I know we can get more of this, your body never actually, when you go to sleep after drinking, your body actually never sleeps. It doesn't rest. It's working in overtime trying to process all the alcohol out. And alcohol is the only substance that kind of goes through every single cell of our body because it's water soluble.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
alcohol, when we drink, goes through our bloodstream and it goes into every cell. Most other drugs don't do that.
Right.
Or the same way.
Right. They get stored in the fat cells.
Yeah, they store in the fat cells, or it does other things. But alcohol that's why it's so toxic, because it is going to every cell. And then your body, your liver is doing what it's supposed to when you go to sleep, which is holy crap, I got to get rid of this stuff.
Filter
and so your kidney and your livers are like working overtime. So you're not actually getting rest. And what's so fascinating is now with all these fitness trackers, you can use these sleep trackers at night or one of your smartwatches and actually look at the difference, your heart rate variability,
right.
your stress levels, and all of these different measurements and metrics now are all increased if you drink and then go to sleep. So you wake up and you think you're like, yeah, I passed out, I went to sleep, I got tons of rest. You're not actually, you're going to wake up more exhausted.
That's huge.
It's massive.
I mean, like, how many clients do I have who self-medicate with alcohol in order to sleep?
That's right.
Like, I need to
even
have
just a little.
Yeah, I need to have a glass or two of wine in order to fall asleep. And if I don't have that, I can't sleep.
Right.
And yet what we're doing is putting our bodies into overdrive.
Yeah. Our bodies,
preventing us from
our bodies are actually these really amazing, well-balanced machines. Mm-hmm. And every little thing we do kind of tips it in another direction. So that could be alcohol and substance use. It could be stress. It's phones. It's all these things we talk about that contribute to our mechanics just being slightly off. Right. You wouldn't drive a car for 10,000 miles and not change the oil. I mean, some people would, but like you rotate the tires, you fix you change the brake pads, you make sure the oil is changed.
Maintenance.
You do maintenance. And you try not to pour water or other things in your engine, in your gas, right? You don't want to like mess up the system. Right. It's a machine. We kind of have to look at our bodies the same way. And how we function. So when we start getting overtired and stressed out and traumatized and all of these other things that we're trying to manage, and it's being thrown at us constantly, our resilience breaks down. Right. Physically, we break down. We might start to feel like, oh, my hips kind of hurt a little bit. My back hurts. Yeah. I don't sleep as well. I have headaches. Right. You start headaches. You start to notice all these little changes.
I need to drink more coffee.
Tons of
which never helps.
No. Well, it helps in the moment, but then I inevitably overdo it, and then with coffee especially, and then I hit that one where I'm like, oh, I get that headache then from the coffee, right? Because I'm trying to keep up, right? And it's all of these things contribute to feeling kind of awful, and that's just the physical part.
Yeah, that's not even the mental.
That's not the mental or the emotional part, right? And I think we can differentiate between mental and emotional things too.
Mental exhaustion, when I see it, when I experience it, is like I've been. I think about grad school, when I was just like studying, I was just cramming, or like procrastinating, and then worried about a paper, and so I ended up just like working constantly, readings and videos and writing, and my brain just felt like it had been running laps.
Absolutely. You're trying to consume so much information that you just can't keep up, right? You need a break. When we think about how we address ADHD issues or learning issues with kids, there's all different models to do this. Right. The most successful models are the ones that break things up into small sections.
Chunking.
Right. We break things up into small sections. We give ourselves scheduled breaks. We work for 15 minutes, study for 15 minutes or half an hour, whatever you can tolerate, right? When you start to get a little squirrely, take a 5-minute break, schedule your breaks in. And that's one way to kind of deal with this mental exhaustion. Right. We think about how much information we're consuming day to day. Picking up the phone again. How much of that stuff that's already traumatic or anxiety inducing is are we consuming?
Right.
And it's by the bucketful.
Yeah.
Young kids, we both have young children.
Mm-hmm.
Young kids are being asked to consume so much more information than we can even wrap our heads around.
Right.
And then with each generation that changes.
Yeah.
And the amount of information that they're exposed to is so much different even to what we take in every day. And we're still existing in society, right? We're still.
That's amazing to think about, that overload, that information overload that we're conditioning our children to sort of become accustomed to.
Absolutely.
I remember once going to a concert at the Sphere in Las Vegas. It was when it first opened and YouTube was doing a residency there.
Right.
And I was told ahead of time, it's really an overwhelming experience. And it can be emotionally exhausting. I found at one point, I was totally into it. The visuals that are in front of you and above your head, they're 15K. We're used to 4K, maybe 5K at best. 15K resolution for these incredibly, vivid and kinetic visuals, right? I fell asleep. In the concert.
We're just exhausted. You just got tired.
I just got overwhelmingly tired. It wasn't like I hadn't slept the night before, and I went into the concert excited.
Right.
I think information overload put me to sleep for like 10, 15 minutes. And I wonder if it was partially because I was taking in, these extremely high resolution graphics.
Stimulation.
Right.
It's your brain, you just get overstimulated and it's just kind of, it's your brain overheats. You're like, I'm going to shut down for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to check out.
Yeah.
And I'll come back in a few minutes. Yeah.
Right. Literally.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I never thought about it in that context, but I do believe information overload causes this kinds of mental exhaustion. What does emotional exhaustion look like? Is that, because that I have a feeling I know what it is.
Well, I think as therapists, we definitely, it's constant.
Yeah.
The emotion, like think about all of the emotions you're managing every day. So in this line of work, it's a constant feed of other people's feelings, and it's regulated a little bit, but our job kind of puts us in this space of like, hey, we want to take more and more of this. We need to have it in that kind of emotional intensity to kind of get as they say, the work done.
Right.
So you're turning up the emotional intensity. And then that gets, I don't know, if you finish your day after you see a couple people in a row or you've had a lot of like heavy conversations with people, how do you feel? Do you feel like you want to go run a marathon or do you feel like you want to crawl in bed?
Yeah. It's so funny. Like when I will because I'll do sessions at night too.
Yeah.
And then I'll run into the kids' room and, put them to bed.
Yeah.
And frequently I'll just pass out.
Yeah.
With my 4-year-old, I'll read the book and.
Yeah. And you just write out.
Yeah.
And that I had the same experience when my kids were little. I would get home from work and I would do the same thing. And into the dark room, I'd read a book and I would pass right out. Most of the time before my kids would.
Yeah, that's happened.
And they'd be like, Dad.
My 4-year-old, yeah. No,
up.
she'll wake me.
Finish the book.
Daddy, finish the book.
Sorry. But it's emotionally draining. So then you look at, and even people not doing this work, if we're having a hard time managing our feelings, or we're just living in that state of anxiety or shame or judgment or any of the things we talk about, right? That's when we're kind of like living in that acute kind of state, intense, and the intensity's turned up all the time. It's exhausting. We're just run down.
Yeah. And
so now you start to look at people are walking around in society and in culture, in our groups, in our towns and neighborhoods. And we talk about, we talked last time about community and connection. Everybody's walking around exhausted mentally. Because they're taking in all this information. They are exhausted emotionally because it's just so much. It's so overwhelming. And there's no relief. There's no release valve or any relief from the pressure cooker. So, I always think of that, like, if you've ever like pressure cooked food,
right?
Oh, I always think like the Instapot, right?
Yeah,
like I gotta tap the thing over to like let the steam go off for like 5 minutes before it's actually probably safe to open.
How do we release the pressure when we're feeling emotional exhaustion? Like, what is I guess it's mindfulness.
What does that mean? What's mindfulness?
Mindfulness, that's a catch-all term that is overused. When I say mindfulness, I'm thinking in terms of like somatic, body-based self-regulation techniques. So meditation would be one.
Right.
I was never really good at meditating until I was introduced to transcendental meditation, which is so simple that even I can do it.
Yeah, people get worried about or intimidated by the idea. Oh, I can't do that. I can't stay focused. I can't sit that long.
Right.
But that's not exactly what that
I
is.
absolutely felt that way until
Right.
I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's just not for me. I can't sit
Right.
still. I need to be in motion. And, that ties into this whole idea that we were speaking about earlier, like performance.
Yeah.
I have definitely been driven by a sense for as long as I can remember, I need to perform at all times.
Right.
And I need to outperform whatever my last performance was. And potentially I need to outperform everybody here. I need to win.
Of course. You have to be the best.
Right. In order to be barely acceptable.
That's right. Because in your mind, you're still like, yeah, I'm barely making it.
Yeah. I'm just hanging on behind the 8 ball here.
Yeah.
So I think, again, mindfulness techniques that work for me, meditation works, remembering to breathe, as overused as that can seem or sound, just remembering to breathe right now. If I just go and hold it and then release it, I've just changed my body chemistry.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I feel differently.
It's amazing.
I think differently.
You do. I've done this exercise with people and you always say, just everybody says, take a deep breath. That's kind of good advice, but it's not great advice, because when we think about fight or flight again, and I love going back to this, it's all about fight or flight.
Right.
When we go
And freeze and fawn.
But when we think about fight or flight, the two kind of like, I'm going to run or freak out about this.
Right.
What happens is that somebody says, hey, take a deep breath. When you run or exercise, you're taking deep breaths, right?
Yeah.
Where are you breathing into?
Breathing into my belly.
When you exercise?
Oh, what am I breathing into?
Yeah.
In terms of my body?
You breathe into your chest.
Oh, no, in my
Yeah.
lungs. Right. Okay.
When we run, when we exercise, when we're faced with fight or flight, we suddenly want to breathe into our chest, because all of a sudden we need oxygen to get into our blood,
Right.
so that we can pump our heart faster and then tense up our muscles. And we need all of that to work. Remember that well-oiled machine?
Right.
That's how it works. So every time we're exercising, running, doing anything that's intense physically,
Right.
we breathe into our chest. When we're freaking out and having anxiety, the first thing somebody says to us is, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And the first thing that we do is go, and we breathe into our chest and we take a deep breath.
Right.
And it increases our anxiety, because we're getting more blood or more oxygen into our blood, and it's increasing our ability to fight or run.
Right.
That's not what we want to do. You mentioned breathing into your belly. That's what we want to do.
Right.
It's diaphragmatic breathing is the technical term. It's breathing deep into your stomach.